All right. Good morning. Welcome to Educators Drinking Coffee. I'm Assistant Principal Juan Castillo here at Pasquotank County High School in Elizabeth City. I have with me a special guest today, Miss Sharon Warden.
Good morning.
Morning. So this is Educators Drinking Coffee. Miss Warden, I do have my cup here from Educators Drinking. Awesome. So today, I'm probably a little lazy just because I was talking to a teacher before I came. We started this, but we do always have little spare coffee here. So today I'm having a donut shop coffee, medium roast. It's not bad. It's not my favorite. So when I don't like the original taste of black coffee, I add some cream. So I'm getting a little bit today. How about you? What are you drinking?
Well, I like all kinds. Today's special is Folgers half calf. And I always have to have cream, no sugar. My dad always used sugar and cream. Tried sugar because of him. And thought, not for me. But I love coffee. I can drink it all day long, and I do.
I'm from Colombia, so growing up, and I mentioned this last week with Dr. Edmonds. In Colombia, traditionally, you wake up in the morning and probably the first thing you do is, brew a cup of coffee. In my family, we did grow up with having sugar, but it's black coffee with sugar, nice and sweet. And if you wake up around, 6, you have that. And probably by 7 is when you eat your full breakfast. Then sometime around 10 in the morning or so, or 11, you have another late morning cup of coffee. And then you have one mid-afternoon, late afternoon, 4 or 5 before dinner. And that's the other thing too. Like, since I've grown up here, I've gotten used to a size of a mug. In Colombia, you just drink like you have a small little cup.
Smaller.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, as far as I know, I have no in my family line, I have no descendants from Colombia, but that sounds very familiar to what goes on around here. So.
My wife drinks a lot more. She's originally from the U.S., but she drinks a lot more coffee and straight black. I'm like, I need to have a little bit of sugar, and I'm diabetic, so I got to watch out. So I've been doing a little better than I normally have. So this morning I do want to say hi. We have Trinika White. She's one of our former students. She graduated last year. I knew she says, I miss you. And I know she did. She was playing very hard last year, like she was ready to leave. But once they leave, they do miss us. And I always have to say hi to my mom. Buenos dias, madre. She always likes to stop in. At least she gets a chance to see me when I do these on Wednesday. So
good
morning, Mom. So Ms. Warden, just wanted to talk to you because you are one of the originals here at Pasquotank High School.
Sure am.
First got started. So I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about, well, first, let me begin. Tell us about your background, where you started and where you're at now for some folks.
Well, first of all, let me say, in anticipation of part of the conversation being about my being one of the first at part of the gang that started Pasquotank County High School, I wore my shirt, my Lucky 7 shirt. It's a member of the Lucky 7 Club. We got these shirts when I was there at Pasquotank. We had been open for 7 years. And on the back, it says PCHS and success. So
I like
just
that.
Share that. But to give a little bit of my background, as I indicated before the show began, I'm from here. I grew up here. Both of my parents were from the area. My mother grew up in Camden. My father was a Pasquotank County resident. And I graduated from Northeastern High School, went to COA, got an excellent 2-year degree from there. So that I will say that I've said this always to former students, to students when I was in the game. there's nothing that beats starting out at a community college. It helps you, gives you some foundation for going off. It gets you kind of settled into the college atmosphere and into the rigor of the college class without leaving home, so you can save some money. And even if you just go for a year, again, I think it's a really, really good start. So for all those kids who are thinking about what they need to do, and for the parents who are trying to encourage their kids to pursue something beyond high school, I just suggest, really encourage them to seek out either COA, and fortunately here we have lots of options. They could go to Elizabeth City State, even if they decide they want to transfer and get away from here for a while. And I think that's good. I went on from COA, I went to East Carolina. I did take the typical tours around to different colleges that are universities that I was kind of considering, and just decided that East Carolina had the kind of environment that I was looking for. Plus it was close. It was close to home, and I could come home whenever. I was fortunate enough to have a car, and so oftentimes I would come home on the weekends if I was needed at home, or if there was something going on that I needed to attend as far as family events or whatever. So it worked for me. I loved it. I loved the purple and gold.
That's right.
I loved the spirit there. We had a great time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, but I got a very, very good foundation, a very good education. I had some excellent professors. And I must say I had some excellent professors while I was here at COA as well. I can think of, like, for example, one, I had Dr. Thorne for American Lit. And I think his foundation is what inspired me to go on to teach English. And ironically, American Lit was my specialty. So not at first, because after I graduated from East Carolina, I got a job in Terrell County. Loved it there. It's very small, very rural, but the people were really nice, very supportive of the teaching profession, enjoyed the students. I even see some of them still. And they always say, "Miss Warden, you look the same." And I said, "Well, thank you." But they don't. And I then, after Terrell, I went to Currituck. I spent some time in Currituck. Excellent experience over there. And then I was fortunate enough to get a job here at Northeastern. In Currituck, I taught school, which is a very unique experience. And then, as I said, left there and came here to Eastern High School. About midway through my career, I decided I wanted to go back to school, get my master's. And I kind of played around with getting a master's in administration. And then I locked into library science, and I found my niche. I love books. I love encouraging kids to seek out information. You hear all of this stuff, fake news and all of that. If you know a library and you're familiar with a library, you can get all the information you need. And now they have it right at their fingertips. So, but the good part about a library and a librarian is they can help you just get through all that information and decide what actually is valid and what is not. So anyway, I had a very, very long career. I retired, having enjoyed every moment of it, decided to get back into the game by running for, I had always wanted to run for a office because I feel that that's a way to give back to your community and serve in some capacity. And I thought, why not try the school board? I have education is part of my game, is my game. I had, I thought some, a lot to offer, to bring to the table, a different perspective, I guess. So that's what made me decide to jump back in. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. Some of it's been kind of challenging, of course.
Yeah.
But I think I'm up to it. I've enjoyed it.
Awesome.
And I love my community and I love serving it.
That's very good. And, one thing I did want to make sure I touched on, you talked about community college, and I guess I had this an experience where, I come from an immigrant family. I wasn't born here in the United States. I was born in Medellin, Colombia, and came here when I was about 7 years old. And my parents, they still don't speak a whole lot of English. They knew they wanted me and my brother to go to college, but they really didn't know how to. And for the most part, me and my brother, we did what we were supposed to do in high school, but we weren't quite ready for a university. And thanks to my parents' support and some friends, I found my way, actually almost by accident, to community college. Like, what do you mean you're not? My friends are like, what do you mean you're not going to school in the fall? You graduated. What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, no, go to, at that point, because I grew up in Palm Beach County, so it's like, go to Palm Beach Community College. You can start taking classes there. I'm like, but anyways, so I started there and I got my 2-year degree. And you're right. I mean, I still remember fondly, I was an art major, so some of the professors I had and how much of an influence they had both to pursue. I didn't think I was going to follow an education at that point, but they had an influence on me artistically, but also really just in general for the love of education, which I didn't have in high school. I honestly can say that. I didn't love school. I wasn't a bad kid. I never really got in trouble, but the passion for education came much later. But they instilled this passion for the love of what you do, and my road took me all this way to going from Palm Beach Community College to Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton with a degree in fine arts, and then really then I started coaching soccer, and that's how I really loved teaching. Found the love. Hey, I really like telling kids and tell them about my experiences and how to do things and things like that. And that led me to that. So I like hearing you talk about the community college, because that's something some of our kids skip over. And financially, it was a big help. My parents didn't have a whole lot to pay, so that helped us out big time.
The same way for me. My parents didn't really have, they were middle class. My father and mother both were working individuals, did everything they could to support us in every way they could. But COA was an option that worked out for me very well financially. And as I said, I got a very good education, and I didn't start out wanting to teach either. I kind of got turned on to it when I went to East Carolina, and I met a professor there who served as an advisor for me. And one day she just said, hey, have you thought about teaching? Because I loved English, and I loved all the classes that I took in that discipline. But I really had thought about going to law school. That was my ultimate goal. I didn't really know how I was going to do it financially, but I figured, well, I'll figure it out. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get some scholarships. I did some work study. I was there. I worked during the summers and saved money to use. And my parents gave me what they could. there was not a time when I left here to go back to school, when I did come home, that my mom didn't load me up with food, groceries to take back.
Yeah.
And my roommate there was from here too.
Oh, wow.
And that was the same thing with her. So when we returned to school, we had plenty of food from both our families. So, and they, you know, my father would make sure my car was running properly and I had good, everything was good with it, provided me with gas money. They did everything they could. And so I did my part. And that's what every kid needs to think about. You know, you can do it. It's not impossible. And never look at that at your situation and say, there's no way I can go to school.
I agree with you 100%. You know, for me, where I lived, and that's why also, you know, community college was definitely like it was here in town in Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach. But even when I went to Florida Atlantic, it was about 25 miles away. So I commuted the whole time. I lived at home and able to not have to spend a whole lot of money, but just for gas and able to do it. So, and I recommend anybody, I mean, don't have to go out on your own until you really have to. It might be my quote. I tell people, and I'm not embarrassed, I lived at home till I was 28 because there was no need for me to live and pay a bunch of money for rent when we had a good thing at my house. So love my parents for a lot.
My son was the same way.
Yeah.
He stayed here too.
Yeah.
And he went to Elizabeth City State.
Yeah.
And had an excellent time there and got an excellent education. So like I said before, here in our community, there are lots of options for kids and for families. So, you know, if you want to, whatever you want to pursue, you've got an opportunity here. So, you know, never look yourself in the mirror and say, there's no way I can do that. There is a way. And there are plenty of people like you and all of our teachers and guidance counselors who will help you find that way.
And it is. And that's one thing we try to stress to our kids is, you know, you're not alone, because tackling college by yourself can be very daunting and could be you can easily get discouraged because of the paperwork you have to fill out and stuff. But there are so many people willing to help. They just have to open their minds to seeking help and things like that. And one of the things I tell my daughter, she just started high school this year, I said, I want you to really start communicating with your counselor, because they really are the key to a lot of that when going to secondary education like that. But before I get any further, I wanted a couple people here. Miss Sharon Sawyer says, good morning, Ms. Warden.
Morning.
Ms. Kathy Lee, one of our ECTAs, always kind of pops in. I'm now here. I'm not sure. It's from Willie Phillips, but it says Melissa Carter Phillips. So I don't know if you might know who they are, but it says hi. And then our social worker, Miss Midge, says good morning. She's been also so much great help this year with our return to virtual and helping us out. So I appreciate her stopping by. I did want to put something on the screen that, hey, I know you're a school member, and I actually wanted to ask you about that, but I'm going to go ahead and put something on the screen that I hope I don't get myself in a little bit of trouble. Is I found this from about 20 years ago.
Oh, no.
So I was so, you know.
I will tell you, as my fellow board members and as Tammy Sawyer has discovered, I do not take good photos. And they often look like I'm either wondering what in the heck am I doing here, or I'm mad at someone. And let me emphasize, I'm not mad at anyone. I'm not a big smiler. I never have been. I do a lot of very, very deep thinking, and oftentimes the camera catches me in that.
It's a thought. Yeah.
So thank you very much for that.
No problem. I've been trying to do for anybody who's been here from the beginning. I pull up the old yearbook, but I did want to ask you just a little bit about, you know, as you know, you worked here and you're a colleague with some of the folks that are, that we still have here. And, it's just like when I was a teacher, then I became administrator, you're seen in a different light. And,
Right.
You as a school board member, how has that changed for you? And I know sometimes we build relationships and it doesn't, but how do you feel about that change?
Well, it's changed for, I don't know if it's changed so much for me as it has for those who I've known for years and their reaction towards me. Yeah. And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. And at first it was kind of hard for me to separate because they were my colleagues and I loved the relationship that we had as colleagues. I loved being a part of their team. And, I see myself as still a part of a team, as the team. And I try to emphasize, because sometimes they'll catch themselves calling me Sharon, and then they say, "Oh, no, Miss Warden," and I say, you can still call me Sharon. I'm still Sharon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the element of change comes from the other side, not from me. So
I'm no means, we're in different places, but going from, like I said, from being a teacher to administrator, and I had the privilege to work with some of my former colleagues then as an administrator, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes, like you said at the beginning, to distinguish that, and in my mind's like, how am I ever going to have to, if I have to deal with an awkward situation, how am I going to handle it? Because now we've gone from friends and we've made trips together, and now I'm your supervisor, but it's worked. And I think it really tells who we are, the kind of person that we are, that we're able to kind of, that time separate. But I do appreciate all that you do and your insight. And, as an administrator, and I look at school boards, I always think we always have to have a sprinkle of everybody, business owners, members of the community, but also educators and former educators, because you've been in the trenches, what happens, and what teachers have to go through. And I think that perspective always needs to be put to light when you're looking at situations that, because you guys are faced with difficult situations, especially during these times. So knowing that, and you guys all go to bat for us. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but you having that unique perspective, and I think couple board members do too.
That's right.
So
yeah, our board is we have a good mix. We work very well together. I'm not going to say that we always agree, because we don't, and we have some very deep conversations about different things. But that's what you're supposed to do. Everybody's an adult in the room. Everybody's an adult at the table. Sometimes the discussions get heated. I mean, if you feel very passionate about something, of course you're going to get, you're going to have that. But, basically everything works very well. But we do have several members who have education in their background. And I think it does help for on the school board level to have that. And I think that has increased throughout our state. I think I'd venture to say that a good portion of the school boards across the state have at least one or two members who have spent some time in education. Good portion of them more than time. Many of them who have retired, just like I have, from education, and then decided they wanted to get back into the game. So,
and I think that's so important, like I said, just because of that perspective. And it's funny, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, I've been in administration now half my career. I started teaching in 2000, back in Florida elementary school. And I'm like, that was always my fear when I became administrator, is losing that. But because, still being able to be here in the building, you can really stay in touch. And that's one thing I also will say. I worked for the school district of Palm Beach County. I think it's one of the largest in the whole nation, probably within the top 15 largest. And I can tell you, I never met my area superintendent, because that's what we had. We had about 5 or 6 area superintendents. Really, not anyone past my principal. Never ever had a conversation. Wouldn't even have known if they walked past me who they were. And that's one thing I really have enjoyed about North Carolina, and especially even here, is how accessible you guys are, and be able to have conversations and just have normal conversations, and not, even though, again, there's always a level of respect, but just to be able to have conversations about what's going on and not feel like, oh my gosh, I can't say the wrong thing. I gotta be in straight and narrow. So that is something that I really enjoy about working here in Eastern North Carolina, and in Elizabeth City, Pasquotank. So I do want to thank you. I just wanted to give you, if there's anything going on that you may want to share. We're coming up here to the end of anything going on with the board or the school system, for anybody that'll watch.
We of course have, we're getting ready to reopen during this pandemic that we are in. This has been a very challenging time for all of us. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you, everyone, from the Dr. Edmonds and her staff, all the way down to the transportation department. Everyone has done an incredible job. Both in, I know what a challenge. I never really did anything virtually as far as teaching, but I do know that it has been very challenging, because when you're planning a lesson and then you're planning it for virtual, there's a whole there's a huge difference.
Yeah, very sure.
So I understand that, and I appreciate everything that everyone has been doing. I do want to say, first of all, I noticed that PD has been reimagined.
Yes.
By a student of yours. I believe it was a student, right?
Yes, Rome. Yes.
Did an incredible job. That's great.
Yes.
Can't wait to see him dancing around and doing his thing. And I do, one of the things I do a lot is I read. I watch baseball. I love baseball. I mow the grass. But since I've retired, that's been my big hobby. But one of the books that I have been encouraged to read, and I just got it today from someone, but it's a book called Bold School. Okay. Heard a lot of really good things about it. So I wanted to just throw that title out.
You know who it's by?
It's by Weston Kishnick, Kieshnick. It's about old school wisdom and new school technologies equals blended learning that works. So I'm going to be very, very excited to delve into that. I do a lot of that. I try very hard to do research and reading on school issues. I think that's part of my responsibility as a board member, to be able to advocate wisely about certain topics. I need to do my share of what, as a teacher, we used to say, oh no, one more thing we have to read or do. Yeah. But if they're worthwhile, then I certainly don't mind. So I'm very eager to delve into this, and I hope I'll be able to share some things that are in the pages, so I can recommend it further.
Awesome. That's awesome. I really appreciate that because, I mean, you know how it is from the moment, like I said, I started teaching in 2000 and I finished in 2010. But so the kids that I had were very different from the year 1 to year 10 that I had. And the ones that I had when I first started administration are different than the ones that we have now. So education has changed. Technology has changed, especially as a media coordinator or librarian. I'm sure you can attest to that. I miss the Dewey the Decimal System going to the card catalog. There's something so novel about going to that. But no, I appreciate you as a board member really trying to keep up to date. Because also, when you come and visit and you can see some of those things, you're like, okay, I can see this in action, or we really need to work on some of this too. And we're actually working on something here. It's called the Distance Learning Playbook.
Okay.
And this is by Douglas Fisher, Nancy Fry, and John Hattie. We actually were able to be part of another professional development yesterday, the administration here with them three, and especially John Hattie. I was really curious about him and all his research about visual learning. And we really are pretty much doing a book study this year with this book. And I really like it because it talks about 2020 and the pandemic and teaching. So it's very current.
Right.
And it really has to do a lot to it. So we're really excited about, I think a lot of our BTs are going to be getting this book and I really do think it's very, very helpful. But I do thank you for that, because that is very important for us to know that, you are aware of what's happening, what we're trying to do, and also what the future may look like and how we may need to reinvent school on the reality with what's happening now. So, well, we can sit and talk, because I'm a talker, Ms. Warden. But we do have some things coming up. School is pretty much has just started at 9 o'clock. So I do appreciate you having this morning. I'd love to have you back again. I'm going to continue trying to get with the originals here. That's what I've been calling them, the originals here that started back.
That's an honor.
So thank you.
It's a wonderful school. It really is.
I love working here. This has really been a blessing for me, having found this. But again, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here for Educators Drinking Coffee. And I will see you next week. And then we'll see you then. So thank you.